Professor Shlomo Bach's book, which is called Ways of Learning to Teach. The way the session is going to be handled is that for about 15 to 20 minutes, Shlomo will be introducing his thesis. Then Ilana Elkad-Lehman and Nir Michaeli, about 15 minutes for each. That's okay. Following the three presentations, we are going to have Professor Sharon Feynman Nemser as a discussant of this session. Okay, so we are going to start. Just before we start, few words. I know Shlomo for probably the past 18 years. No, for the past 20 years. 17 of these years, he was the president of K Academic College in Be'er Sheva. And being so lucky, I'm the one to follow him as the president of our college. Shlomo is a philosopher, and his main interest is in education and in teacher education. I think that taking philosophy and bringing it into teacher education and analyzing, using models from philosophy, analyzing teacher education programs is really creative. So I'm looking forward to this session. One word about Sharon. Sharon probably does not remember, but she has arrived to our college maybe 10 years ago while visiting her sister in Omer. And Sharon, one of the things that I remember from that meeting in the college is that while presenting to you some of our programs, your question was, how do you know that the students learn? I take this question with me up to date. So then we'll be asking how we do know what we are learning, I mean, what evidence we have for our learning. So we'll start. Shlomo, please. Will you be the one to show the book? Speak about it? But that's the real one.
Thank you. Ma? Thank you, everybody, Thank you, everybody, for attending this symposium at the end of the day. And the idea is, in a very short time, to present some of the ideas of the book, and then give my colleagues the opportunity to say something about both ideas from the book and their own experience in the field of teacher education. This is how the book looks like, and shortly, I think in a couple of weeks, there will be a Hebrew edition in Machon Mofet publishers, and there is some slight differences which are not relevant now. I also like to begin with a story, an old Jewish story told in Eastern Europe, which this is a translation of Agnon. There is another translation of Buber. Both translations are not as the original. But the idea is that a man had been wandering about in the forest for several days, not knowing which was the right way out. Suddenly, he saw a man approaching him. His heart was filled with joy. Now I shall find out which is the right way, he thought to himself. When they came near one another, he asked the man, "Brother, tell me which is the right way. I've been wandering in this forest for several days." Said the other to him, "Brother, I do not know the way either." for I too have been wandering about here for many, many days. But this I can tell you. Do not take the way I have been taking, for that will lead you astray. And now let us look for a new way out together. And our master added, the master is Rabbi Chaim of Tzanz, our master added, so it is with us. One thing I can tell you, the way we have been following this far, we ought to follow no farther, for the way leads us astray. But now, let us look for a new way. And this is behind the name of the book, Ways of Learning to Teach, trying to see which ways we have in the path of teacher education and why all of them, most of them, are problematic. So the book has two major aims. One is to suggest a meta-theory of teacher education. Meta-theory means that kind of a theory that brings us the possibility to analyze various types of programs. And the programs, and to analyze them from two sides, from the descriptive point of view, which means what the program does, how the program looks, and from the normative aspect of what the program should aim and should reveal. And because of that, it's possible, after having this meta-theory, to rethink our ideas of teacher education. The background is quite simple. I will do it in a very, very short terms. We found ourselves in a crisis of teacher education almost everywhere in the world, maybe except Finland. Everybody in the world is crying about the situation of teacher education. It begins with teachers are no good. Because teachers are no good, it means that they didn't get good preparation. They didn't get good preparation, it means that teacher education programs are not good. And all the blame for the educational crises in the world are put on the teacher education shoulders. And there are two big background notions here. One is the postmodern challenge, a challenge to all the shared values, beliefs, attitudes, which are no more or cannot anymore be taken to granted. And inside the community, between us, dispute what the teacher should be, how should a program look like, and so on. There is no consensus between teacher educators themselves how the system should look like. This was kind of a main initiative, motivation to write the idea, to write the book. Now, this is the bulk of the book in one slide. I want to say that teacher education programs has kind of identity. And the identity can be analyzed using three tools, three theories, three grand theories. One came from philosophy proper. And this is the idea of Charles Taylor, a Canadian philosopher, wrote a book called Sources of the Self. It's from the 90s. And the main idea was to combine the notion of identity with the notion of morality. The idea was that no one can define his identity without moral concepts. And this is the philosophy side, and here's two main ideas of what morality is, depending on the question from where we take our moral notions, from where they get their validity. One is tradition. There are holy books. It can be tradition, a secular tradition like communism or other, but there are books, holy books. In the books, all the truth is written, and we derive from the books both what is true in the world and how should we behave, what is good and what is bad, and this is the tradition. Enlightenment was the kind of revolution from the 16th century ahead till today, in which we say, oh no, this is no good. No one can tell us what to do. It's not outside us, it's inside us. But inside us meaning our head, in our ratio. And this is the idea of enlightenment. We go to our brain, to our mind, to our senses. We get the information from the world. We think about it. We try to analyze, to generalize, and so on, and get to the true and to the good. All other options are absolute. And the third one was a reaction to the Enlightenment. It was the romantic kind of movement, especially in Europe, Germany, England, Russia, but sometimes in the early states also. The idea that, no, it's not in the ratio, it's in ourselves, but in the feeling, in the emotions, in our inner irrational part of the mind. So what Teller does is to, in a very long book, is to tell the story of the three sources of moral sources, tell their historical development till today, and hint at something which we all know, which is the crisis of the postmodern society, in which all the three collapse. We don't believe God, because God is dead since Nietzsche. We don't believe our ratio, because our mind, our rational mind, leads us to Hiroshima and to Nagasaki and to Auschwitz and all sorts of other diseases and collapses of the modern world. And we don't live romanticism, we don't follow it today, because the classical romanticism and in the Nazi movement in Germany. So all three has their backdrops today, and we don't feel good with them. This is the philosophy. As to the psychology, I found it's very interesting that both from Eric Fromm, in his book Being and Doing, Having and Doing, from the 70s, and later Jacob Rand, here in Israel, which is the doing part. It's psychology inspired by philosophy. They are all the two very psychologist books, but they gained the idea from the philosophy. There are three modes of being, according to this theory. Having is the person who rely very heavily on material things, on achievements, on something he can send a V in a checklist. I have this, I have this, I have this, and he defines his identity according to what he has. Doing is the man of tradition. He has some ideology, some idea that he has to fulfill, and doing, a better word maybe fulfillment, he is the one who finds his identity as somebody, as a messenger of a very big tradition, and being, which is Fromm's priority. Being is like the romantic idea of the authentic self who fulfill himself and find his identity as being a self-made. And the third one, which is sociology, but again from a very philosophical point of view, is Axel Honneth modes of recognition theory. This is a philosophy, sociology theory. Axel Honneth is now the head of Frankfurt School in Germany, and critical analysis of society. And his idea is there are three modes of recognition. One is classical and from the past, which is love, the love between children and parents, between siblings, between friends. Law, which is a recognition of a human being as a human being. And esteem, which is a recognition of a human being because of what he does. because of its merit, because of its achievements. The basic here is the achievement principle. So the combination of all three gives us a very rich paradigm in which we can analyze and look at various teacher education programs. Let's take the first one, which is the enlightenment-based teacher education program. Teacher can be regarded as a profession, and teaching as an enlightenment individual. The teacher is an expert practitioner whose main aim is that the pupil will be knowledgeable. Second idea is that teaching can be regarded as an art. This is the romantic influence. And the teacher, being a romantic individual, is an authentic creator who loves his pupils and enhances his pupils' ability to self-fulfill themselves. And teaching can be regarded as a duty or a mission. The teacher, devoted believer, is a missioner whose obligation is to ascertain that the new generation will share his faith. So with these ideas, we came to see that we have three types of teacher education program. One type in which the main question is what the teacher should know and be able to do. I cite here Darling Hammond books, but this is the idea. So the teacher is a knowledgeable person, is a professional because he knows and has experience. The knowledge is practical knowledge today, clinical knowledge, and the aim of teacher education program is to ascertain that the student will know what he should know and will experience what he should experience in order to gain the knowledge, and the knowledge is practical. If I can give one example of such a program from what we saw in the previous session, it's Nahar program in Levinsky was of that type of programs. A second kind of programs is a romantic-inspired teacher education program. In a romantic-inspired teacher education program, the main question is not what the teacher should know, but what the teacher should be. Who is the teacher? What should be his attitude towards teaching? What is his idea about self-fulfillment for himself and for the students? What figure, what educational model he serves for the children and so on. And his aim is, of course, to enhance the ability and the facilities of the students. And we have the third one, the external inspired teacher education program, in which the main question is to foster a new generation of believers. And the teacher, and the teacher educator, of course, is the missioner who has to be sure that the next generation of teachers will deliver the goodies. The goodies can be any kind of ideology or faith. So basically, this is the program, this is the meta theory. The book itself does another thing. It takes a lot of examples from all over teacher education programs, from the world in the English version, from the world in Israel in the Hebrew version, and try to see if such an analysis can help us understand what's going on in those programs. And I hope we'll hear something about it later. And the last word, and Sharon asked me before, and what do you think about all of this? And I think that we need some sort of an equilibrium between the three domains. No program can be only rational, only romantic, and only traditional. We have some kind of balance Aristotelian balance, if you like, between various types of knowledge, various types of activities, and all the question is how to fit the program to the students to the field to our vision, in order that our impact about the future of our students, which means their vision of what teacher education is and how it should be how it should affect the field, will be more sustainable. As a matter of fact, what I didn't write in this book, but I'm working on now, is exactly how this idea can be figured out in a kind of type of teacher education, which will take the knowledge from the tradition, but will facilitate the ability to be a wanderer in the world of education. Thank you.